This video is the third in a series of 5 short presentations that provide highlights of the James Brice House restoration project.
The main challenge is most buildings, when you cover it with scaffolding, you're able to attach into the exterior walls. However, we're dealing with a building that's 250 years old, and we could not attach to the masonry walls. I supervise all of the preservation work that's taking place on the building. All in all, the building is a very solid building. Most of the damage of the building's been cosmetic. We don't want to put drills into the mortar joints of this old building. And so you have to go the extra lengths in order to make sure everyone is safe on the scaffolding. This is plaster directly to brick. We did a sound test on it first to make sure that it was still solid enough to do what we needed to do. We devised this pressure system with plywood and battens on the inside. First thing we did is selected which pieces of glass we were going to go through so that we could make a proper attachment to the scaffolding on the outside. Fortunately, the ones we removed weren't originals. Then they would clamp this pipe on another pipe on the outside, which will get a good grip onto the scaffolding. We took some rubber roofing membrane, and that will keep any weather or cold air from coming in. We cut wedges to put this against and have protection against the plaster. I call them elephant feet. This is basically a piece of pipe and a screw jack. They put those together, and this is a knuckle clamp that clamps the pipe together. Once it's where it needs to be, then you tighten all the bolts up on all your clamps and start tightening up the screw jack. They think you're a genius when you do this sort of things, but it's really what you do on a daily basis, is you have to be innovative. So it's necessary. You go whatever lengths you can.
We do have evidence in Annapolis that leaded valleys were sometimes used when you had a large gable coming into the roof of a really high-style house. What's interesting is that we think this house used a combination of swept valleys and leaded valleys. Swept valleys is the taking of shingles and fanning them across the valley where two roofs come together.
The object is to get the parallel rows of shingles to sweep around to the main section of the roof. This was the best way to waterproof that and get a continuous coverage of shingles.
But wood shingles really come into the region in a big way at the end of the 17th century. We only have some very small fragments of the original roof covering, but we have a lot of material from a second re-roofing about 1820, and that second material was bald cypress. So Jacobiel has an operation to make shingles to specification for the Brice House. On the rear side of this house, we have a double sloped roof, a gambrel roof on the hyphens that meet up with a regular gabled roof on the wings.
What I did in my drawings is try to work it out mathematically. It's a lot harder to install than it is to draw. If we can get the very bottom to sweep around and we can get the top to work out correctly, I think the valley will work itself out.
And that's just really complicated to do because you have roofs of different slopes coming together. Every house is different. Every swept valley is different. And you got to get it all working out just right.
The building had a tile roof on it, and it caused this here roof to spread out. And the rafters were cracked because of the belly in them. So it spread out, pushed that wall plate towards the road, actually came off the wall. Back in the 1980s, they say they repaired it. They put in these modern trusses and built them in place to hold the roof system. So they basically transferred the weight of the old roof onto the new truss system. Your mission, if I chose to accept it, would be to put this roof system back into operation. So it actually will do the work so that we could remove the modern trusses. Over the years they had 3 dormers put in, and originally there was 2. So we're putting it back to just the 2 dormers. So when they cut the 3 dormers in, of course they modified the whole rafter system, cut the rafters out, moved them.
And that's when Willie Graham said, well, these are matching up with the same widths as the rafters that were cut out at one point. So they want to take those materials out and replace them with original pieces that were maybe cut out of where the dormers were put in and then used as interior walls as they remodeled the interior of the attic.
So we put the rafters in the steam box to get the belly out after they were slotted, steamed them for about a half a day a piece, put them up in our rack to squeeze the rafters more straight, and then epoxied them while they were straight.
This is our splayed scarf joint that we're going to be connecting our rafters with, and this was an original rafter that was then repurposed into an interior stud wall.
My son Caleb cut these, scribed them, he has them all numbered, which ones go into which one.
So it matches the rafter that is currently still in position. It disperses the weight distribution as to not get right in the center of the material.
Because he saws it and planes it until it's super tight. So once they're in, we key them and lock them in. So this is a tight joint.
We didn't find all of them, but we did find probably about 40% of original rafter pieces that were reused as interior walls.
How does it feel sawing away at 250-year-old wood?
You just gotta love it. You gotta have an appreciation for the history of it and where it's been, what it's lived through, the stories it could tell, if it could tell a story. It's amazing, pretty amazing.